If you're looking to buy your next instrument, piece of music tech or accessory, look no further than Dawson's. Now with a brick and mortar store on the iconic Denmark Street here in London and online at dawsons.co.uk, Dawson's carries heritage guitars, Harmony, Mono and other major music brands like Fender, Martin guitars, Marshall, Orange amps and more. You'll hear on this show how guitars have songs in them. And it's true. I've been playing this Harmony Silhouette with Bigsby that you can hear beneath this. And I've now got to start a new band because the songs are flowing. So if you're looking to pick up something special, head to Dawson's on Denmark Street or online. And with the voucher code 101 part-time jobs, you can claim 5% off the Dawson's online music store when you spend £100 or more. That's voucher code 101 part-time jobs over at dawsons.co.uk. Happy playing! Hey, do you play in bands? I did for the longest time. And I wish that I knew that DistroKid was a thing. I don't even think it existed back then. DistroKid makes music distribution fun and easy with unlimited uploads, and artists keep 100% of your royalties and earnings. 1 million plus artists rely on DistroKid to get their music on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, TikTok, Tidal, Instagram, and all the major streaming services. When you get DistroKid, you can see a DistroKid bank and withdraw your earnings. You get notified when you've earned royalties and you can withdraw via the app. And you can even check your streaming stats on Spotify and Apple. Get 30% off your first year on DistroKid by going to distrokid.com/VIP/101pod. 30% off for your first year. That's not bad. We know it's a tough world out there. Why don't you make it easier for yourself? And to get 30% off that free year as an artist, where you get 100% of your royalties and earnings, go to distrokid.com/VIP/101pod. All right, stay with me. I'll be right back after this.
Piece by piece.
Revolutionary artist Pharrell Williams invites you to Piece by Piece, a first-of-its-kind Lego movie event.
What if we told my story with Lego pieces?
Let's do it.
Discover what it takes to build the greatest hits with Kendrick Lamar, Jay-Z, Justin Timberlake, Pusha T, Gwen Stefani, and Snoop Dogg.
I was always a bad gangster, but you brought out the fun in me.
Hell yeah.
Piece by piece.
Get tickets now for Piece by Piece. Rated PG. Parental guidance suggested. Directed by Morgan Neville. Only in theaters this Friday.
This episode is brought to you by Jira. Jira is the only project management tool you need to plan and track work across any team. So if you're a team of developers, Jira better connects you with teams like marketing and design, so you have all the information you need in one place. Plus, their AI helps you knock out the small stuff so you can focus on delivering your best work. Get started on your next big idea today in Jira.
Welcome along to 101 Part-Time Jobs. With me, Giles Bidder. It's where we hear musicians and artists talk about all the different jobs they've done in their life. And this is our 400th episode with Tim Heidecker. 400 is a lot of anything, and I surprise myself that I've been able to focus this long on anything at all. And even more so that people keep on coming on it. People keep on listening to it. So thank you for being here. You're here for Tim Heidecker, who is a legend. The writer, the comedian, Tim and Eric, loads of films, Ant-Man and the Wasp he was in. His IMDb credits just go down and down and down. I hope you've got to scroll on your mouse, because even with that, it'll take you a little while. I'm really glad to have Tim on the show talking about his music. That's what we talk about on this episode. It's his music, a little bit about the comedy, a little bit about the lifestyle. He's got a nice bit where he says that His whole life is an art project. I think it sums it up pretty nicely. His new record, Slipping Away, is coming out next Friday. It's his 8th studio album, according to the internets. So, I mean, again, 8 albums. That's a long time to focus on anything. But even still, Tim says that it's only been the last couple of years he feels like he's got some wind beneath his sails with the music stuff. And he's been on tour doing comedy and music in one night, kind of splitting it down the middle, having a night in 2 parts. I don't know if that tour's coming to the UK. I hope it is, but if you're in the US, I know he's doing some dates in January. Go to his website, timheidecker.com, and find out where you can catch those comedy and music nights. Thanks for being here. 101 part-time jobs, 400 episodes. If this is your first time here, we put out 2 episodes per week with bands and artists who we think are great. It could be a hardcore punk band, it could be an indie rock band, or it could be a folk artist. That's kind of the breadth of what we're into. So if that sounds like it could be your kind of thing, click subscribe, scroll back to some previous episodes and see if there's anything there for you. This is Tim Heidecker. 101 part-time jobs. Have you ever met anyone where, you know, your excitement has got the better of you?
Oh, all the time. Yeah, I've gotten kind of used to it because I find myself meeting sort of famous people through work and stuff. And yeah, mostly I handle it pretty well. I'm trying to. A good example of it, me not handling it well, will come eventually, but I don't have one right now.
Hey, thanks for doing this. The show's called 101 Part-Time Jobs, or 101 Part-Time Jobs. And growing up playing in bands, and I was lucky enough to be surrounded by people playing music. And, you know, come my mid-20s, and I'd worked all these different jobs trying to really lie to myself, I suppose. I accepted the reality as like, no, I love music journalism, and I like music, and whether that's working at a radio station or a magazine, both of which I was lucky to do. And so kind of bouncing off my own experiences, you know, I love hearing other people's stories and journeys, and seeing people who like make stuff and the journey of that, and knowing that it's, you know, the end product is so different to the whole process of it and the kernel of it. That's the kind of orbit that I'm coming from in this conversation. Great.
Yeah. I love it. I love it all.
I mean, I think about comedy and music coming from a very similar like place, in that, you know, you're vulnerable. There's no like roadmap. You don't know what's going to land well or not. When did you first write a song and think, yeah, I'm going to show this to someone else?
I mean, when I feel pretty good about it. I think there's a lot of false starts and a lot of ideas that don't go anywhere. But I think by the time I've taken the effort to record a little demo or write some lyrics, you know, I'm feeling fairly, and it's a pretty small group of people who would I'd want to play something for at that stage. So, and I have a pretty good trusting relationship with those people. So yeah, it is a vulnerable, the whole process is fairly vulnerable. But that first introduction of a new idea into the world outside of my brain is a vulnerable moment.
Do you think that you've got like an internal kind of intuition where, like, you know, you've written so much in your life, there's been so much, thousands of times you must have gone into a room with strangers or friends and be like, I've done this, what do you think? And then there's that pregnant pause.
Yeah, I do. I guess so. I mean, it's not something I think about too often, but I think people like me, I'll say me, but also people like me tend to be fairly, I guess, sensitive to the world and are absorbing information maybe a little differently and processing it differently. And you know, always as a, you know, it's kind of a joke, but, you know, it's like, oh, this this moment would work good in your show. You know, that idea of like always being receptive to environment or ideas isn't something I guess everyone has.
Yeah, right. And lyric writing, you know, when you see something happen or you feel something, and you know that jump from just feeling it or thinking it to then writing it down.
Yeah. Yeah, that's an interesting thing. I mean, I think there's like there it's hard to sit down and like manufacture something out of nothing. I think there's always a spark. There's always like a concept or a phrase or a notion that comes through. And then the fun part, I think, is sort of the puzzle of the completion of it, you know, of I'm like a word puzzle kind of guy, like do the crosswords and the various New York Times word games and stuff. So there's like the fun part is you can't control where the notions come from really, except just being alive and your sensors open. But yeah, sort of that second verse, which I kind of joke about in Wells Running Dry, about like the second verse is always like this compulsory, like, well, the song's got to keep going, so I have to say something else.
Yeah.
And what's that going to be? And you know, I always kind of joke about Dylan too. Like, I'm a big Dylan fan, but I noticed a lot of songs where it's like, well, you sort of just said that, and you're saying it again in a different way. You know, like that's kind of some of the tricks of songwriting. Is like, you know, you don't want to overload the listener with too much information, but you do have to keep singing. So, yeah, I think there's two sides to songwriting. Is like the pure inspiration in the shower moment of something that didn't exist as an idea, or your version of that not existing in the world. And then the second part is sort of the craft of making it into a thing, you know, making it all work together, making it rhyme.
and getting that sort of extra melody or that extra push in the second verse that's like, oh, it's like a Tom Pettyism or something.
Yeah. I mean, that's all that comes like that almost comes into like the arranging is also part of the writing. Is like what is the band going to do with the song? What is the arrangement going to do? What is the vibe of the song? Like how can it musically assist the theme of whatever I'm writing about?
What were you into? What have you been into in terms of songwriters and lyricists? I mean, John Prine, I get from Wells Running Dry, some Van Zandt, and it's that kind of there's a certain type of finger picking that is like, wow, you know, it's addictive. You can't not listen to it. You know, once that track is on, it's on.
Yeah, thanks. It just kind of chugs along, and I think in the video for it, I acknowledge it's actually it started as I think we don't give enough credit to the idea of like kind of playing something you're familiar with as a starting point. You know, like all this stuff is all connected. You know, and people love to do that on comments. They like to tell you what it sounds like, which I think sometimes is seen as a rip and sometimes is seen as a nice compliment, you know, depending on where they're coming from. But I oftentimes will start playing another song or think about a song in the style of, and that one, Wells Running Dry, I think I was playing the Never Going Back, the Fleetwood Mac song, which does this neat thing. For me, it's an impossible thing to actually play because like Lindsey Buckingham is a master.
I can't hear it. Is that hidden in the song?
The songs immediately depart from each other, but that often happens. But back to your question, I mean, who am I listening to? Randy Newman is sort of my like songwriting guru. Not that it ends up sounding like him usually.
That's the beauty. You can try and, I think you just said earlier, you know, you try playing someone else's song and it comes out all different and it comes out all yours.
Yeah, that is a process because I could make Randy Newman parody songs. Like I think I know how to do that. and I actively avoid it. But yeah, definitely John Prine. I mean, working with this band that I've been working with um, has opened me up to lots of different artists, and having a pedal steel player in the band is like, woo.
Yeah.
I mean, you just slap that on, it's like, you know, Marmite for you people, you know? It's like you just slap it on and everything tastes great.
Imagine playing with other people, and that's the very good band you're talking about.
Yeah.
There's something about going with other people that makes you take it more seriously. Like, I'm fascinated by that idea of, you know, you live in this dream world as a teenager or a young person, and then if you're lucky enough to spend time on it and even get paid for it, like that, like journey of taking it seriously, of taking something fun seriously.
Yeah, I mean, I try not to take it too seriously. I think that's what is kind of fun for the band is they're maybe used to playing with other people who maybe take it too seriously, where sometimes the fun gets taken out of it. And
Yeah,
so
been there.
I'm like the idiot brother who doesn't know the rules of how to be a professional musician, you know, and keeps it light. But for me, yeah, I mean, I've tapped into these, you know, Ellie, Josh, and Connor, especially on this record, that they make it so easy because they're so fluid and quick and intuitive about the music that they rarely get things wrong technically and vibe, you know, like the style we're going for, the kind of the vibe we're going for, their instincts are so good that there's very little for me to say. You know, I put them on the right course and give them the chords and we start playing, and it's like, yeah, that's how else would you ever play that? You know, it's like that feeling. So
magical.
Yeah.
That's like being a kid and being in the practice room and having that thing where you're like, oh, we're communicating in music.
Yeah. It's funny. I have different relationships with everybody in the group, and it's, I mean, all good. And you know, it's like with anybody, you connect on in different ways. Ellie and I are very silly and like gossipy and or like in a very like chatty and stuff. And Connor and I don't talk often. He's kind of a quiet guy, but when we play guitar together, we look at each other like we're a couple of kids, like getting away with something, you know, like he's a much better guitar player than I am, but we kind of have a nice, like, conversation always going when we play guitar together, you know, especially live or when we're sound checking or something. And we've kind of got this Keith and Ronnie kind of, you know, like trading off in a little bit.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just great. It's great.
And sonically, the record, I mean, you talk about John Prine, and then we talk about something a little bit more like Stones. It's got a bit of rock and roll. I mean, I haven't heard the full record. I've just heard the singles that have come out. But sonically, between those three singles, it's across the board, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think about genres too much. I mean, I think about concepts when it comes to lyrics and themes and stuff when putting a record together. But, you know, I love a record that kind of can weave around different musical genres while at the same time feeling like a band, you know, like, you know, I think the Stones is a great example of being able to do that with like Exile on Main Street. There's plenty of country on that record. But you know, it's like, I'm not making a country record necessarily, but I've got a pedal steel and I've got, you know, the classic country chords in the songwriting. But I'm never going to do like a Ween record, you know, like the Ween country record, you know.
Right.
I'm not trying to do parodies of things or so yeah, it's just going to kind of come out how it comes out when these five people get together to make the music. I really love, obviously I'm very inspired and like the only kind of music I really want to make is the music that kind of got as good as it got like in 1972, you know, like the sounds of those records where the technology and the song, everything kind of like got as I think got as good as it got, and then things kind of got cocaine-y, and kind of got thin. And I still love records beyond that, of course, but
There's Noel Gallagher talks about how after the first two Oasis records, which have they're quite roomy. I don't know, when I think about records that I think you're referring to, I think of this like roomy sound, like Led Zepp 3, and it's like it's so like wall of sound, but there's also but it's not too like it's not too in your ears.
Well, I think it's like it's not the kitchen sink of technology happening on the record. It's generally a group of people in a couple of weeks or a month or something playing music together, and it being recorded pretty well, by competent people with some overdubs and things. But I always bring this example up, but the Van Morrison album Moondance, which I think everyone kind of knows songs, it's like, pretty popular Van Morrison record, but there was this expanded version of it that came out 10 years ago that had all these alternate takes, and it's a great listen. And it hit me like, when you listen to that record, it's like all the songs kind of have basically the same arrangement. That's like, and it's a little bit of a weird arrangement because it's drums, bass, acoustic guitar, organ, piano, a very specific horn section that sounds very specific, like that sounds very similar throughout the record, and I think some backing vocals. But it made me feel like that's the sound of that record, that particular arrangement. And I try to keep that in mind when making records. That's like, yes, you have access to everything in the computer. You have access to every kind of sound, but you want to like put limits on it so there's a continuity to it. And this record is kind of the pedal steel Connor effects pedal record for me. And Tim and Ellie singing together record. Like there's just like a continuity to it that I feel like you had a lot more of back in the day, just because that's what you had access to.
What was there? There's some great stories about Green Day recording their first albums where Mike Dirnt and Billy Joe Armstrong are singing at the same time to cut down on studio time.
Yeah. I mean, and it sounds that's why it sounds real, and it like connects to us on a very human, gut level, like instinctual level, that those guys are singing together.
For real. I mean, and for you, for songwriting, is the music hooked on the storytelling, on the story of the lyrics, and where you take us, that journey you kind of guide us on, if that's not too much of a sort of, inflation of it. But it does feel like you are taking us on a journey.
Yeah, I mean, I think the music has to suit the lyrics. I mean, if it's a sad song, the music should be kind of sad. If it's a funny, wry kind of cynical song, it should have a little rock and roll to it or bounce to it, and so there's very I saw this interview with what's his name, the drummer from the Police, Stuart Copeland. Where he was like, I just only recently discovered the lyrics of Sting in the Police songs. Like he was rearranging or doing some concert that was, and he was like, I finally listened to the lyrics. Like, these are great lyrics. But it's like crazy to me that like, the lyrics didn't seem to matter back then for him, at least. Like I would think when I'm making my records, the band is like pretty clear about the vibe of the song, the tone, and like the message of the song.
Think about Copeland and like the whole story of that band is like Miles Copeland, Stuart's brother. He was like an A&R guy who was just like was incredibly smart and intelligent about releasing records. And it makes me think, like, have you how much business acumen do you have as a musician? Because everyone's got to have some sort of that stuff going in their brain, some kind of strategy, plan, idea.
I mean, you hope for that. You try. I mean, I try. I don't know how much control anyone has over it. I take it very seriously. I think I'm very involved in the artwork and the messaging and and the PR of it all. You know, beyond that, I think I'm resigned to the fact that, I mean, I've been doing it for almost 10 years now of putting out records, you know, that are not Tim and Eric comedy records or anything like that. And you know, there's definitely like a growth happening to it, and but I'm always like, well, like I get that I'm making kind of niche indie rock um, dad music that isn't going to, it's not, you know, Chapel Roan. So I'm perplexed and, you know, realistic and, about like the world of music. But I feel like there's still like people still want to go out and see live music. People still have a great time when they do. I've been doing, you know, the past 2 summers I've toured the band with comedy, but when the band is playing, people are fucking into it, you know, and it's like a good night and it's a fun time and it's trying to spread that. I love doing it. I think my band, we love playing together. We love traveling together. There's some bands out there doing it. Obviously, like there's the jam band scene, at least here, is still very, you know, is seems to be still very like lucrative and vital for people. Like, so there's no. I always think like, I mean, I think yes, I've been putting it out for about 10 years, but like Ellie and my managers, people are like, you've really just kind of been doing this for 2 years, like. You know, you've really only been kind of taking it seriously for a couple of years. Like you're just like people are, you know, uh, don't think of you this way and uh, aren't going to think of you this way until you actually prove yourself a little bit. So
It takes a long
um,
time.
yeah, I mean, but it's a fun thing to do along the way, and it's like I'm playing, you know, big rooms, and in London, you know, we were there last year and did a big sold out show at Earth, and so it's not like I'm starting at the open mic level or anything, but you know, it's it's a it's a transition that is sometimes not always easy. But I like that, you know, it's like I try to look at it from a positive place of like, this is a fun challenge to see if I
Yeah.
can do this too, you know, and
Yeah.
do the best I can. Like there's things of my work that becomes very popular that I don't I mean I hold everything kind of equally. Like I understand there are things I do that are kind of like, that wasn't so great. That didn't work out. Oh, that was great, but no one cares. Or that was fine, but everyone loves that. You know, like nothing really ever lines up the way I think it's going to line up. So I've learned that it's like just do what you do it as best as you can, put it into the world. Um, People are gonna, you know, have their thoughts about it. Who knows, you know, what's gonna hit? Something from my back catalog might hit, you know, out of nowhere.
On
Like
TikTok.
yeah, there was that Billy Joel song that hit this year. I think Vienna.
Okay.
Somebody was saying that like Vienna went viral like for no reason. Like it just got picked up by teenage girls or something, and I'm sure there's a reason, but I didn't look into it. But
We
you
live in
know,
that world.
so
We live in that world that like there's this like huge back catalog. It's almost like this underground catalog system of stuff that's been out there, and it can kind of pop its head up at any time. And I guess as someone who as like a musician and a writer, someone who makes stuff, like I guess you got a few ways of thinking about that. You could be curmudgeon-y about that. I mean, because you want to keep on making new stuff and people to hear the new stuff, or you can be accepting of it. Where do you fall in that kind of new world of TikTok? I mean, I know you were like big on Twitter and you were making some great bits of comedy from interactions there.
yeah,
But
I begrudgingly like post what I have to post on TikTok, and it doesn't really go anywhere. I'm pretty much down to just like Instagram as my posting, and I got off Twitter about a year ago and kind of gave it to another person to just post like the bare essentials of stuff. And we do a long running joke there, where we every day he posts a status update on former President Jimmy Carter, who is unbelievable. The reason, I mean, just not to digress too much, but the reason is Twitter's, I mean, Elon Musk is an absolute threat to American democracy and has destroyed that site in a very sad. It used to be a really fun place to fuck around and meet people and make jokes, tell jokes. Like that's kind of the best thing, and see like breaking news and stuff. But anyways, I said I got to get off this thing. But a friend of mine who's very funny, we're like, Jimmy Carter had just gone into hospice, and it was like, let's just post a daily update on his status, because we assumed it wouldn't be very long before he passed away. He's not almost 100 years old. But it's been a year and Jimmy Carter has not died. So this update happens every day, and he might be eternal. He might be the first eternal human being. But yeah, now it's become this like it for a while it was regarded as like, this is not funny, this is stupid, this is mean, whatever. And I don't know. Now it's transcended into something artful.
Hey, what a thing to witness when something becomes. I mean, it's Stuart Lee. You know Stuart Lee, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that's his thing. He'll just say something enough times, and it's almost like the 5 stages of grief or something, but it's like the 5 stages of funny.
It passes into absurdity. So yeah, I all that to say is like, I think the algorithm and the way that those systems work, I think they're not interested in. This is just my theory. I'm sure there's science to back it up. I'm sure there's sort of like reporting to back it up, but they're less interested about using their platform as an advertisement to leave their platform. In other words, to like, it's not like posts about like, hey, I'm playing next week, don't do as well as, hey, I'm here at the beach and here I'm going to show you what I'm eating. You know, like because I'm here at the beach and I'm showing you my picnic is keeping you on their platform. Right. Sending you down to the club is taking you off their platform.
Right.
And I think it's simple. It's like they want, if you're going to use their platform as an advertising platform, they want you to pay for that. Then you look into paying for sponsored posts and stuff for your music or anything that takes you out of their ecosystem. That's my theory. I see it all the time. It's like I post an organic picture of me looking silly with my hair messed up or something, doing a funny face, gets a lot of views and it gets a lot of passed around. I posted like a legitimate, here's something I actually care about. Here's something I put a lot of work into, and I really want you to take notice of it and enjoy it. That gets like, I think Instagram's like, no. That's not what we're here for.
I think that's like a pretty and I feel that sometimes with this show, I'll post an interview that I'm stoked on and the clip's good, and it'll get like 5 likes or 50 likes, there's that episode of Black Mirror that values people on the amount of likes they get, and it is gutting. It can be gutting.
You don't want to become obsessed with the likes and the comments and the thing, but there's 2 reasons why you did that in the first place. One is sort of self-expression, get it out. You have an idea, you want to expunge it from your mind, and making it is really fun. I mean, I guess there's 3 reasons. There's like getting it out of your head, making the thing, which is really fun or really challenging, really satisfying, and then sharing it with people and having that communion with the world, or a segment of the world, and so it is fun to like hear what people think, or it's part of the process is to like, you're not doing this in a vacuum, you're doing it with the rest of the world in a way.
I think of a WhatsApp. If I was texting my friend group or my family group, how would I word it? That's my my key.
Yeah, that's good.
What's your happy place? When you're writing a song, it could be, when you wake up and you read, or you make yourself like that sweet cold brew. What's your happy place of writing?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, I don't have it too formally locked down, and I will go through like droughts. And then I think when the drought's over, or when the song comes or an idea comes, it's very productive and it kind of comes in waves, which I've heard happens to other people too. I love the idea. I don't have the discipline. I mean, that's kind of a goal, is to get the discipline, but like you see like Nick Cave, where he like puts on his suit and goes into a studio and writes every day. Like, that's pretty cool. My world is too bifurcated and like it's too hard to like get into a routine of anything. So I don't have any routines that are consistent enough to brag about. But
what about moods? I mean, if you find yourself having a particularly blue day, you know, and you're sad, you're depressed, is that conducive?
No, I think that involves actual non-work. You know, that if I'm down, it's like I am down, and I watch TV, or I look on, I watch YouTube videos and acknowledge that I'm not feeling anything great today. I think the one place I become very active is, first of all, when I'm with other people. Like, the songwriting is pretty solitary. So I'll put that aside and say songwriting is something I just got to like pick up a guitar or sit at a piano and just see if something happens. But in everything else, it's like very collaborative, and it's conversation. It's, like I'm working on a movie idea now, and just sitting at lunch and just improvising and laughing and pitching and thinking, and then talking about it and solving a problem. Like, that's all very collaborative and conversational. I think I'm very good in that format.
Opening up to that conversation.
Yeah, with the right people, things come out of my head that I don't plan on and I don't consciously activate. They just come out, because I'm trying to entertain that person. Like, I think at the end of the day, it's like an audience of one, and I'm trying to make them laugh or make them, solve a problem. Yeah. And then the other place where I think solitary, like I try to walk, or kind of run and walk every day, like a 3-mile jog. And I find I stopped putting headphones in. I stopped listening to podcasts, and I just let my mind work. And it's very effective when there's an idea. Like, I don't know, sometimes when there's an idea that I'm working on and I haven't really solved it yet, the walk will like unlock something. Or sometimes brand new ideas just come from that. So I just try to use the blood flow of movement to activate ideas. And then then you have your phone there, and you like make a little. I wrote a song the other day that I put on Instagram about the whole eating dogs and cats thing that we had over here, that I didn't put a lot of work into finishing. I just kind of recorded it on the piano and put it out. But I just, I was not planning on writing a song on that run, but it was the day after the debate, and I had that line in my head, and I started singing it as I was running, and I took out the voice memo on the phone, recorded a really, not what it became, but sort of a rough start. And then it's fun. You get home, and you're like, I've got something to do. I've got a project. I could take this little germ and flesh it out, because I know that, like I said earlier, sort of the craft of finishing a song, or making it legit. So those are the spaces I think I'm most creative in.
Love it. I mean, getting a great idea and putting it down on WhatsApp, there's no better feeling, because you're like, oh, this is it. This is the key. This is the elixir, or however you want to say it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's that little spark, and the rest of it can just be not always comes through, but it's like gives you something to play with.
101, 101, part-time jobs. 101, 101, 101, part-time jobs.
Hey, got a little bit of time left, but thanks so
Yeah.
much for your time.
Yeah, it's been great talking to you.
Good to chat about music and where it comes from. I feel like these conversations are. I've got a brother, I've got an older brother, and like talking about rock and roll, and my dad a little bit, who's a big Grateful Dead fan. Like, love these kinds of like talking about music and where it comes from. It's something that's never diminished in my life. If anything, I take it more seriously now than I did when I had all the time in the world. It's a funny thing.
Yeah, and I love listening to people talk about it too. I mean, I think really the only I haven't really listened to your podcast, but I will, because I've just been made aware of it. But the few podcasts I do listen to are all music related. I mean, I like talking about music. I love talking about the stories and the people. The people behind the process behind it, where people came from and everything. So. Yeah, I absolutely love talking about music and listening to people talk about music.
Just to end with, talking about 101 part-time jobs and all the side hustles, and talking about writing songs on the fly. Did you have any particular places that or jobs that stand out where you were writing down ideas for music or shows? I guess I'm talking before, your comedy career took off.
Most of my jobs before I got the opportunity to make TV shows and stuff were dishwasher jobs and waiter jobs and some office work.
How did you fare at those? Having a busy brain.
I was a great waiter when it came to the customers, to some degree, but terrible organizationally, keeping track of my orders and my tickets and dealing with the kitchen. I'm just not very organized that way.
You pissed off a couple of chefs.
Yeah, I think more so like the at the beginning of the dinner, the people at the table, the customers were probably very charmed by me. By the end, they were like, "Why did that take so long? Where's our food?"
Yeah.
But then I might have saved them with some apologetic humor, But yeah, so I don't think I was, I think I was writing music a lot in high school, and I had a band. I had bands in high school, and it was a fun recreational thing. And then when comedy came into my world, it just took over, and it became like I didn't write a song for, a real legit song. I did for years and years, So now I treat it as a joyful thing that I get to do, that I don't think about as a job or work. It's just a great way to. It's like it's my own personal like therapy, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. What's one thing that you do physically that describes your character or goes some way to describing who you are?
It's one thing that I do physically.
Yeah, so it could be like the way that, the order of which you do things in the morning, or it could be the way you park your car haphazardly. I don't know. I'm riffing, but.
Yeah. No, I mean, I have become quite like disciplined about certain things in my life, and I do get up very early. I have my cup of coffee, and I have my routines and my things that I look at on the internet, and I'm fairly like disciplined and consistent about life, and fairly sober throughout it. Like I'm not sober. I drink and stuff, but I am fairly conservative in my living. And I just work, like I don't like Ellie said this about me because we just toured. She's like, your life is, you're always working in a way because work is life. What my life is an art project, so like if I'm texting with somebody, the texts are really funny and they're very detached from reality. Like the last thing I want to do is like talk about what we're having for dinner tonight. I want to like goof around. And that's what I do all day long in a lot of ways. Like if I have to pay a parking ticket, like that's the drudge. I mean, this is true for everybody, but that's like me stepping out of reality into this like hell world where my dream life is just playing music and making things and goofing around and texting, dick pics to my friend, pretending that we're having an affair. Like it's all a game. It's all fun and silly and stupid. And talking about it seems ridiculous, but that's how I live my life.
It's almost like when you do the things that need to be done, tickets, paying rent, going to the vet.
Yeah, talking to talking to my insurance company. Like, I can't. I need my this is such a ripoff of time. Like, I never understand it. I'm confused.
Yeah. It's cosplaying.
Yeah, that's right.
But I think that's the one thing that almost makes it easier, knowing that everyone else is probably doing the same thing. People are acting the way they think they should.
Yeah.
For a lot of the time.
Totally.
And you empathize, and that in itself is funny.
Yeah. I love calling people out like, come on, are you really we're really gonna have this conversation about like I'm an hour 10 minutes late and you're closed? Really? Okay. That's fun. But yeah.
Hey, nice one. Have a great day. Are you coming back to the UK anytime soon? I don't think
nothing
I saw any tour dates.
Yeah, nothing on the schedule, but I'm sure we will be working on that soon. We'd love to come back. It was a real blast to be over there last year.
Yeah, awesome. Well, hopefully see you then next time then.
Yeah. All right, man.
Sweet.
Take care. Nice talking to you.
So there was Tim Heidecker on episode 400 of 101 Part-Time Jobs. Tim's new album, Slipping Away, is coming out next Friday. There's 3 singles from it. You can go and listen now. They're all good. Wells Running Dry, Like I Do, and Dad of the Year. And like I said, they're kind of all over the place, those 3 songs, sonically. And it's exciting. It's interesting. Tim Heidecker, interesting guy. Thank you so much for being here. And make sure you click subscribe for episodes we've got coming up, or maybe scroll back and see previous guests we've had. I don't know, maybe dip into the Kurt Weill episode we did for episode 300. All right, cheers. Thank you. Life keeps on running. See you next week.
101 Part-Time Jobs is hosted by Giles Bidder and produced by me, Olivia Swash. This has been a Mighty Moon Media production.